one-dimensional football team. They expected Sam Darnold to go down there and pick this team apart. That is not going to be the Eagles' game plan. The Rams have a chance if they can put pressure and stop the run and then put pressure on Jalen Hurts because they can be explosive offensively. But the Eagles' defense is legitimate as well. So it's going to be it's tough sledding for the Rams.
Stop the run is an interesting thing. If you look at the lower right-hand corner of your screen in the first meeting, Saquon Barkley had 255 rushing yards in the first meeting. Two of them came on really long runs.
70 and 77.
Yeah, but
stop those.
Not that I pay attention to the run game.
So we'll see if he's able to dominate the second matchup the way he was able to dominate the first. On we go. Yeah, so there's one of the big plays. So we've got that. That matchup is now set. The Rams season goes on, and again, they rep for their city yesterday. So many good storylines there. On the other side, the Minnesota Magic Carpet Ride came crashing down yesterday, and so it seems did this incredible time for Sam Darnold. 2 weeks ago, Sam Darnold was being hoisted on the shoulders of his teammates, and since then he's had two very bad weeks in a row. What did that mean? Our Troy Aikman addressed that on Monday Night Football last night.
These last 2 weeks will have a big impact on his future, not only what that may look like for the Minnesota Vikings, but a big impact on what that may look like for him going to another team. Is there going to be the big payout that looked inevitable a few weeks ago may not be quite as big as what Sam or others thought. These are the games that matter. He knows that. Every quarterback that plays in this league knows that. And when you get into these games, that's what you're judged on.
And these were the two really big games. If you think back, it feels like a year ago, but it was that Sunday night in Detroit that we built up as maybe the biggest regular season game that we'd seen in memory, and now this one, and those are back-to-back tough performances. So Louis Riddick is our evaluator extraordinaire. What did these last 2 weeks say to you about Sam Darnold and his future?
That it's cloudy at best, Greeny, because look, the objective facts are this. Over the past 2 weeks, he's had QBRs of 17.4 and 13.6. That's where personnel departments are going to start. They're going to say, whoa, where all of a sudden, how all of a sudden did this fall off of a cliff? And then when you start peeling it back, they're going to start looking at the things that made Sam Darnold great this year. Primarily, his relationship with Kevin O'Connell, his relationship with Josh McCown, and their ability to provide this young man with answers that he's never had at this point in his career. Did he look like in particular last night that he had any answers? Look, to me, what it looked like was a guy who, quite honestly, looked shell-shocked, who wasn't quite sure of what he wanted to do with the football. I mean, that obviously is what leads to hesitation in holding the football in the pocket when you're not quite sure where to go with the football, on top of the fact that you're getting your head beaten because your offensive line is just getting destroyed. So now when you're a prospective team looking at Sam Darnold and you were someone who thought, hey, you know what, if he does hit the free agent market and Minnesota doesn't sign him, can we provide him with the same structure that Minnesota provided him with? Probably not now. I think now this throws a whole bunch of things into question for him, for Minnesota, and for every team that was looking at him as a prospective answer for 2025, which is not a good place to be in.
And so, Dan Graziano, we've got the Sam Darnold of it all. We also have the J.J. McCarthy of it all. We remind everybody the Vikings drafted him 10th overall. He was going to be their quarterback this year. He got hurt in training camp at some point anyway.
At some point, yes.
He got hurt in training camp, missed the entire season. Darnold had this terrific season. 2 weeks ago, we're talking about the Vikings trading away McCarthy. What are we talking about?
Exactly. Well played, sir.
I wasn't the only one.
I was too.
What are we talking about now?
I think, honestly, like, as much as this may muddy the situation for Sam Darnold, I think it clears it up for the Minnesota Vikings, right? I mean, like, you took this guy, McCarthy, 10th in the draft. He's got to be your quarterback of the future. You sign your star wide receiver for $36 million a year. Like, you're building your salary cap around the idea of a rookie contract, a first contract for a quarterback. To give Sam Darnold big money off of a big year would have forced them to change their plans in a lot of significant ways, not just moving on from a top 10 draft pick. So I think it becomes a lot easier after these last 2 weeks, as painful as they've been for Minnesota, to say goodbye to Sam Darnold and move on to McCarthy. And if McCarthy's not ready coming off his injury, you go ahead and you trust your coach, Kevin O'Connell, to do what he did this year with Darnold, to find somebody. If Daniel Jones is there, maybe it's somebody else, that can get you and be your bridge to whatever McCarthy is when he's ready.
Just quickly on that, my point would be, you saw what O'Connell did with Cousins. You saw what he did with Darnold. You believe that his process is going to help McCarthy. If he's not there, find another backup that he can do the same to. Why a change? Even if Darnold, unless it's a Super Bowl, why a change? I think it does clear it up completely for the Vikings.
I don't know. Again, his entire team is carrying him on their shoulders in the locker room 2 weeks ago.
That's exciting.
It was suggesting they loved him, right? And I mean, I think we all sort of, it might have been going that direction. Okay, either way, we'll leave that there. We'll have much more on the playoffs as we go. But there was another story yesterday.
Something else you want to talk about?
To Dallas we go. Could Deion Sanders be in line to replace Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys? A source confirming to our Adam Schefter that Cowboys owner Jerry Jones and Sanders spoke yesterday. While an interview has not been scheduled, the two are expected to continue their dialogue. And Deion texted Schefty last night and said, quote, "To hear from Jerry Jones is truly delightful and it's intriguing. I love Jerry and believe in Jerry. After you hang up and process it and think about it, it's intriguing. But I love Boulder and everything there is about our team, the coaches, our student body, and the community." Schefty was on ESPN Radio early this morning.
Jerry checked in with Deion yesterday, and they'll continue talking. But I said to Deion last night, "So what's next?" And he said, "I don't know." So I think everything's really up in the air. Maybe that means talks intensify. Maybe it means they don't. I don't think he knows right now. And by the way, I think that's probably also true for the Dallas Cowboys.
So this on the day where the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy officially went their separate ways, and now Jerry Jones is on the phone with Deion Sanders, and everyone is looking at me and smiling. And I'm going to Louis Riddick, who was a teammate of Deion's once upon a time, and they remain very close. What is your reaction to Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders talking yesterday about the coaching vacancy in Dallas?
Look, there's the business, and then there's the profession. Look, from a business standpoint, this has a lot of people excited, including you, Greeny, and I get it, and I understand why. These are two of the biggest personalities in American sports, in the history of American sports, for obviously different reasons. But then there's the profession. And see, I know Deion the professional as well as the businessman, but I know him even more so as the professional. And this is just not a match to me that seems like it makes a whole lot of sense from a professional standpoint. Deion is the ultimate alpha. The ultimate alpha. He has his hands on every single part of the Colorado football team and of the Colorado football organization. He won't have the same kind of influence in Dallas. We all know this. We talk about this on Get Up every year. We understand what head coaches are up against when they're going and working for Jerry Jones and you're working at the Dallas Cowboys. It's a unique situation. It's a situation that probably on its surface looks a lot differently than it does once you get in it and once you're kind of like going through the motions every single day. Does that to me sound like a match for Deion? Look, I don't want to speak for the man. You should never try and speak for the man. But I'll speak from experience. It doesn't seem like a good match for me. Could it be something that absolutely would light headlines on fire for forever? Yeah, it would. But there's a difference between the business and the profession. And professionally, I just don't see this as being a match.
I'm sorry, Greeny.
He's
I'm
devastated.
sorry that they.
Devastated.
Here we go. I think that
We had a momentary technical difficulty. I didn't hear anything Louis just said, for the record, so I'm turning now to you, Domonique.
I think what Louis was saying and what we all kind of feel is probably right, but I think there is an argument for it. While it could be combustible, that combination, we've talked about this before. Deion's personality, and to Louis's point, he's the ultimate alpha. And we've said in the past that it's hard for people to have true leadership in that locker room when everyone's looking around you.
Amen.
To Jerry Jones. Deion Sanders is not someone who's going to allow people to look around him. Right. So that would be the argument for it. But the problem is, when you put two of those alphas, as Louis said, in the same organization, it's more likely that it's going to blow up than it's going to be a success. So I think that's the concerning part. I'm making an argument for you because I love you, Greeny, but I don't know that
it happened once before. We've seen this. The two ultimate alphas in that organization. You know what it led to? It led to 3 Super Bowl championships in 4 years.
And that guy gets fired.
Okay,
Right.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Deion shows up. It works for a little while. It's combustible, and there is success. And then it blows up because Jerry doesn't like it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy Johnson is that guy. And once upon a time, he led them to the only real big high-level success they've had in the entire Jerry Jones era.
Agreed. My question would be similar to what Louis just said. is Deion willing to have people look around him? Otherwise, they're going to have this meeting before, because you tried it with Parcells. You saw that it didn't work out that way, who was another alpha that he tried to go get. Jerry Jones has not changed since he fired Jimmy Johnson. And you're expecting him to change. He's not going to change. And if you're Deion Sanders going to that environment, he's not changing. The dude's 82 years old, and he still talks about it's my team. It's going to be. He wants to win his way. And unfortunately, his way is not going to win. It's going to be good. It's going to be okay. It's going to be whatever. It's going to go the ebbs and flows. But until he steps aside and allows somebody to take full control, that means the roster too. That's a big deal if you're Deion Sanders leaving Colorado, where you have all the control, to go to where you have no control, and a guy's looking around who does the first presser after every game, and he's the voice of the team. That's a tough pill to swallow if you're Deion Sanders.
Yeah, this has been run the same way for 30 years.
Thank you.
Right? Like, this is
30.
Deion was on the team, well, like the last time, right? Well, like, so you have to be okay with that. If Deion Sanders hypothetically is going to be the head coach of the Cowboys, he's got to be okay with how it works there. Now, certainly he has an understanding of how it works there, but that's a lot different from living it day to day.
Yes.
Right? You just had Mike McCarthy at the end of a 5-year contract get to a point, and Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy talked. They couldn't find a path forward together. Mike's lived it for the last 5 years and all that. So Deion would have to do that. Now, in terms of the attraction for Deion Sanders as a coach, other than the headlines, is he's a program builder, right? That's what he's done in college. Is Dallas a place where a program needs to be built? Does ownership feel that way about that roster? Probably not. So is Deion going to have control over who's on the team to the extent that he did at Colorado? Probably not. So I'm kind of with Lewis and the other guys here. I don't think it's a match. Now, if Jerry Jones wanted to blow up the way he thinks about his team and do things differently and bring in somebody that would change a lot about how it works there, then I could see this.
Yes.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
I don't believe that 82-year-old Jerry Jones is of that mind. I just don't.
And let me say this. It is a completely different seat from where Deion was in the organization. He was the highlight of the Cowboys, right? He was the guy. So you have this voice, but you're not the coach, because your owner isn't talking to you about your performance, right? So as he walks in that building, it's a lot different to be the head coach as it is to be the star player. Like, Dak Prescott would have more voice in that room because that's your guy. How is Deion going to say that? Just, to me, and I'm all for Jerry changing. Let me say it this way. If Jerry changes, that'd be the first dude I'd hire. Because if my two sons, I would love for them to sit in the locker room with Deion Sanders every day and let him speak the way that he does to his. I think you are a better football team. You're better men because of him. But Jerry's got to step aside. That's the problem in my mind.
Let me get Louis Riddick back in. Go ahead, Louis.
Yeah. There's been no indication whatsoever given by Jerry Jones that he's willing to pivot and go in a different direction as far as philosophically how he wants to run his organization. None. As a matter of fact, he has dug his heels in even more. He said, look, I think, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, look, he bought the team so he could run it, so he could be the boss, so he could be the figurehead, so he could be the guy who's making all the decisions. And that's what comes with having billions of dollars and being able to do that. Has he given you any indication that he's willing to say, hey, you know what, Deion? I'll let you sit back and I'll let you reevaluate every single aspect of the football operation and tweak it how you want. Tweak it how you did at Colorado, how you turned that morbid, university from a football program perspective into someone now, into a program now that is doing millions and millions of viewers every Saturday simply because you're there and because you've made them credible. He's given no indication that he's willing to allow someone like that to come in there and do that. And I can tell you this. I know what Deion values. Deion values culture. He values alignment. He values relationships. And he values trust. If I'm him and I'm sitting there and I'm objectively sitting back and I'm looking at this situation, this would be great for business. Do you think Deion's hurting for money? Do you think Deion needs to generate business? He don't need to generate any business. The man's a walking corporation in and of itself. He needs alignment. He needs a great situation. Now, you give him a great situation and a lot of money, then you're talking.
Yes.
I just don't see the situation, though, as being one that really suits what he's looking for.
I mean, I think the last argument for it is the challenge for Jerry Jones is finding a coach who is aligned with him. So I agree that everyone is saying is like the problem is Jerry Jones views it this way, and all the other coaches view things this way. But you can say that as far as Deion Sanders understands the value of the entertainment part of sports. Like, he understands how valuable that is to an organization. Jerry Jones does also. So you could make the argument that as long as they are aligned, it's not as much conflict as you would have in other places. Because if what Jerry Jones's message is consistent with what Deion Sanders' message is, then it's okay. The problem is it's not likely that that's going to happen because Jerry Jones's message fluctuates from week to week, as we saw just a couple weeks ago when he said, that's my coach, that's not my coach. You can talk to him, don't talk to him. So I get it. I'm just trying for my man Greeny to make an argument that this could happen.
I don't think you need to help me. The bottom line of it is this. I have sat here every morning for the last 7.5 years and had all of you tell me, Jerry Jones likes it when Get Up is talking about his team. Well, there's no better way to do that. There is no more performative move than to hire by far the most famous option to be your head coach, who will make you will be the lead of everything, every single week, all of the time. And I think he likes it that way. Now, we'll take a short break on this, but we are by no means done talking about it. As we continue here, Troy Aikman is going to chime in on this. Cowboy legend. Wait until you hear what he says about just how good a job someone is going to get when they take the Cowboys coaching job. You'll hear that. And now that he's out of Dallas, is Mike McCarthy the right guy for Caleb Williams in Chicago? So much to get to. Stay right where you are. You're watching Get Up on ESPN.
Darnold balls out. Picked up by Verse. Off to the races. And gone for the touchdown.
Second verse, same as the first. Ninth verse. The Rams had 9 sacks. They pressured Darnold on 46% of his dropbacks. It was a total domination by the defense of the Rams last night. Coming up, speaking of D, the D in Big D stands for drama. And Troy Aikman isn't sugarcoating how he feels about the head coaching vacancy. Wait till you hear what he had to say. Plus, is anybody here hungry? Don't miss a playoff edition of Sat 'em Down. The pancakes are coming up. We're serving them up hot. Get Up on ESPN.
We aren't building electric vehicles because it's trendy. We're building them to save our planet. To save it from all those soulless, self-driving sleep pods everyone else keeps polluting our streets with. That's why we're doing it.
I can't believe you corporate types are still at it. Just stop calling each other rock stars.
And using Workday to put finance and HR on one platform? Tim, you are a rock star.
Using responsible AI doesn't make you a rock star.
Kinda does.
You are not rock stars. Okay, most of you are not rock stars.
Ooh, data-driven insights and large language models. Oh, that's so rock and roll.
It is, right?
You get it, yeah.
I know we only just met, but I can't imagine my life without you.
The 3 for Me, only at Chili's, is still available with the Big Smasher Burger, and it's still just $10.99. So if it's all this or a drive-thru, come on, it ain't rocket surgery, it's Chili's. This Chili's 3 for Me is the best $10.99 you can eat.
Goldilocks needs a place of her own, and fast. Thankfully, she's on Redfin. They update their listings every 2 minutes. And with so many options, she's bound to find exactly what she wants.
This one's just right. Is she leaving?
Yes. Oh, it's happening. It is happening.
Introducing Mando Whole Body Deodorant for pits, privates, and beyond. I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, the inventor of whole body deodorant, like Mando. It's clinically proven to block odor all day and controls odor for 72 hours. And before you say it, Mando works better than a shower with soap alone. Rather than covering up BO with heavy fragrance, Mando's unique formula stops odor before it starts. That's my secret to better odor control everywhere. Mando's unlike anything you've ever tried before. Get over 30% off at shopmando.com.
This island is full of a bunch of people who are nuts.
All aboard the Hot Mess Express. There's a storm a-coming.
Tonight on ESPN, Colin, Thigala, Rose take on a Tiger. No, wait, the Tiger, Max, and Kistner. It's LAGC versus Jupiter Links Golf Club in this West versus East primetime matchup. This is TGL, presented by SoFi. Keep up, it's golf.
A new champion for a new era. Ohio State seeks a return to the throne. Notre Dame fights for their first playoff title.
It all comes down to this.
The CFP National Championship, Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN.
Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be seeing this. Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be seeing this. Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be using this. Particle 6-in-1 Face Cream for Men. The first of its kind anti-aging cream designed specifically for men. Fights eye bags, dark spots, and wrinkles. Visit ParticleMen.com and use the promo code on your screen to receive 25% off your entire order. Plus, we've got free shipping and a 30-day money-back guarantee. www.ParticleMen.com. Because seeing is believing.
Play action, Stanford on the move, stops, finds his man, touchdown Williams. Darnold's in trouble and down he goes. Darnold slings it and he's picked.
And our defense just went crazy and was attacking the quarterback.
Everything that could go wrong for Minnesota has.
Gone for the touchdown. What a night for Chris Shula's defense.
Great to just come out here and play aggressive, play fast, physical, and get the win.
So we showed you all the highlights earlier this morning. The Rams with a one-sided win last night. To round out the Elite Eight in the NFL, they get the Eagles next. They're going to have to do a much better job slowing down Philly's stars than they did when they played in Week 12. Look at these numbers. Saquon had 300 yards from scrimmage. A.J. Brown didn't have time to read a book because he had 100 yards and a touchdown. So we will look ahead to the playoffs as we continue here this morning. But back to Dallas we go for our big story of the day. Could Deion Sanders be headed to Big D to replace Mike McCarthy? A source has confirmed to Shefty that Cowboys owner Jerry Jones and Deion spoke yesterday. While no interview has been scheduled, the two are expected to continue their dialogue. In the meantime, this got a lot of attention yesterday. Cowboy legend Troy Aikman on Monday Countdown with the guys had this to say about just how desirable a position that job is.
As far as a coveted job, I don't know that that's accurate. I mean,
Really?
I do think the Cowboys are obviously a high-profile team. Whoever is covered or whoever is head coach of that team is certainly going to draw a lot of attention. But I think most football people that take over as a head coach, they want to do it on their terms.
That's
and
fair.
That's hard to do. And it's, if you take a Dan Campbell, for instance, is Dan Campbell if he's with the Dallas Cowboys? It's hard to imagine that he is. It's hard to imagine that a lot of these coaches might be. So I love the Dallas Cowboys. I played there for 12 years. I wish them well. But to say that it's a coveted job, I'm not sure I would necessarily agree with that.
Okay, so those are very strong comments coming from him. Yes, that was remarkable. And just sort of the setup of it, because Van Pelt asked him, in the question sort of suggested it's a coveted job, and I understand why. Because you become the most famous coach in the NFL the day you take it. And a lot of people like that. And they'll look at that and they'll say, oh, I'm the one who can do that. If there's one thing we've learned about, generally speaking, coaches, they have huge egos and they think, oh, I'm the one who's going to go in there and I'm going to become the biggest star. But you got Aikman saying, that's not the job people want.
The way that Troy worded it, I found particularly interesting because I talk about that job as one of the parts of it that's not interesting is because Jerry Jones will make your job more difficult. But Aikman kind of made it sound like Jerry Jones is going to keep you from growing into, like he's blocking out the sun that you need to become. Like Dan Campbell can't become Dan Campbell because there's this limiting factor that's always hovering over you. So we understand that the young, like a more established coach might do better there, but a young up and coming, like hotshot coach who wants to become something more, I can understand how difficult it would be for them in that situation.
It's been a while since they had a coach that could kind of, rise above it, right? Like theoretically, if you go in there and you win, right? If you get to a Super Bowl your first year, your second year, then all of a sudden you might have a little more power.
But it's really hard to do that
Well,
in
right.
that situation.
But I mean, in terms of appeal of the job, like which of the open jobs has an obviously better quarterback situation right now? Like, I mean, like there are some things about it that are attractive. It's unique because the way we perceive it with Jerry is that he wants a certain kind of guy and maybe somebody that's okay with him getting the amount of attention he gets. But I could see people out there saying, no, I could make it my own.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Jerry Jones is a lot of things, all right? I don't know him. You guys know him way better than I do. I've been in the same room with him maybe 2 or 3 times in my life. But you guys sat up and said, he's a lot of things. People will say he's a smart man, right? I mean, he is obviously in a lot of ways a very smart man. And if he hears someone like Troy Aikman saying that, don't you think there's some part of him that thinks to himself, I'm going to show everybody. I'm going to show everybody, whether... Like, you don't have to he doesn't have to change 180 degrees from what he has been. He just has to change this. Oh, look at Louis Riddick shaking his head at me. Go ahead, Louis. I'll give you the floor. You don't see him, to get a star the magnitude of Deion Sanders, you don't see him being willing to give an inch?
No, I don't. Look, I think for some owners, the juice is being in front of the camera. They like the attention. They like being a part of the club. They want to feel like they're doing it. This man has said, with all due respect to him and what he's built down there, that he bought this organization, bought this football team because he wants to run it. He wants to be the focal point. It's as simple as that. I mean, what Troy is saying is, look, it's good for business if you go to Dallas, because of everything that comes along with being associated with the Dallas Cowboys as far as being a head coach. It's not necessarily a great professional decision, though. Because as a professional, are you going to be allowed to be the point person? No. Are you going to be allowed to grow and kind of allow your influence to really reach and touch every single part of the organization in a way that many head coaches can reach and touch every single part of the organization? For example, Dan Campbell, no. So is it a coveted job? Yeah, I guess if you like the business part of it, but from a professional part of it, you understand that you're not the point. You're not the tip of the spear. You just are not. And if you, like, that's why when we talk about Deion Sanders, Deion's the tip of the spear. Make no mistake about that. And he wouldn't be there. So why would he go?
Jeff?
Yeah, I think from Deion's perspective, going into, if you're going to make a case for Deion going there, him going into the situation and chalking the field extremely well for him. This is how we're going to run. This is how I'm going to run it, and making sure, because he does have the leverage at this point. The problem for me with Jerry is he hasn't changed, and the problem, he was winning and changed to lose, because winning and winning your way are 2 different conversations. Yeah. Jerry wants to win his way, and when you have that mentality, you do exactly what he did. You run off the best thing that you ever had because you're going to do it your way, and now you're 30 years in and nothing's changed. Your business is great, you're the highest grossing, you're all that kind of stuff. You are never truly in the Super Bowl conversation for 30 years. And why? Because that's what you did. Now, can Deion change it? I absolutely think he could. He could bring in the right people, right coordinators. He could build it the right way. But the problem is Jerry is not going to step aside.
Can I disagree with one thing he just said? They were in the Super Bowl conversation. A year ago, leading into their playoff game, they had just had this. We were talking about them as a legitimate Super Bowl contender. We were.
We can talk about anything we want, but
my point is they win 12 games, 3 straight games. I mean, is it Jerry's fault that they keep getting blown out in these playoff games? He just fired who?
He just fired the dude who went 12-5 3 years in a row. Right. And they got the because again, what are his expectations? His expectations are he's going to win his way. By God, he's going to do it his way. And if it doesn't happen, he's going to die trying. Like that's just his mentality.
I mean, I think oftentimes we think the assumption is that everyone wants to win, but I think to Jeff's point is some people want to win their way. Yeah. They'd rather do it their way. And Lewis has alluded to it a number of times. This is why he bought the team. He didn't buy this this video game to watch someone else on the sticks. He is going to be on the sticks until he can no longer grip the sticks. That's the way that it works with him. So no matter who comes into that operation, they have to know that they are going to be player two. Like you got to be Luigi. You never get to be Mario in this situation.
You're the receiver. He's the quarterback.
And that's a tough way to go about it. But I think the idea that you said earlier that he's a smart person. Smart's one of those words that you can apply a bunch of different ways. I don't think his intelligence is the reason what's stopping him. It's the humility.
Right.
It's like no one's ever mistaken him for someone who is like humble.
That's exactly it.
He fancies himself like he's a college football player. Like he's like, I'm a football guy. And to your point, they've built some good rosters, and he can't look himself in the mirror and say, you know what, I need to find a better football guy than me to run all of this. That's never going to happen.
But Deion Sanders doesn't have to run all of it. He just has to be the coach. And you can be the coach and have someone's going to be the general manager of any team that any coach takes the job.
No,
someone's going to pick the players.
It's different than what you're saying.
No, I know it's different.
The conversation isn't, can you be the coach? Absolutely. It's when the players look around you. Because Jerry's the one that they ultimately answer to. If you're the head coach and you're not the one voice that everybody, all those 53 have to look to, you've usurped all your authority. You can't go be successful long term that way.
Okay, so let's live in a world where this isn't a possibility. All these guys are right and I'm wrong, and this isn't a possibility. And Bill Belichick isn't a possibility. And the Cowboys
Watch your tongue.
Okay, says the Tar Heel.
Exactly. We're on the recruiting trail right now. You back off a little bit.
And Shefty reported that there is a team that called the Steelers last week to inquire about trading for Mike Tomlin. Let's live in a world where that team wasn't the Cowboys, and we can assume it wasn't. Then who is he hiring? Like, who's he hiring that fits all the description that we're basically giving is he's hiring someone to be his assistant, right? That's the way we're making this sound. I think we're overdoing this to at least some degree.
I think he wants to hire a coach who's successful, ultimately successful, but it's
no, we're not.
It naturally is going to have to be someone who's okay with the way things work there.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, like, is Kellen Moore makes sense, right? He's been there. He was Dak Prescott's backup. He was Dak's quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator. Like, someone like that probably ends up making sense if you want to give him a head coach. And maybe he'll be really good at it. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's going to have to be somebody who's okay with Jerry doing a press conference after the game.
Okay, I'm not done with this yet. Let me give you a promo here. I have more ideas for this as we continue. Let me mention that tonight we've got 3 men's college basketball matchups. We got Texas A&M taking on Kentucky. That's 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Then we got, did you guys watch Cooper Flag the other day?
Yeah.
42 points. Yeah, Jeff doesn't like him. Anyway, number 3, Duke hosting Miami, and then that's Baylor in Arizona at 11 Eastern. So great college basketball is coming your way. In the meantime, Jeffrey, put aside your Duke dislike. Oh, we'll mention this. All these years after it worked for the Bulls, are the Bears ready to be like Mike? We'll answer that question right after Jeff gives us a little crepe this morning, getting us ready for
little crepe to get your day. Sam Wormley. How about this play right here? We want to talk about knocking folks down at the next level. Penn State getting in. Go see him. Bam! Oh, hey, when you see the gold snap back, you know he laid hat on hat. I gotta love this play. Again, nice physical play. Penn State did a lot of this season. A lot of respect for that. And listen, 3 knew he was getting hunted. Threw his hands up. Do nothing about it. That's what I'm talking about, Sam Wormley. Little crate to get your day. Hey, we got some nasty cakes coming up. I'll come back and see you. Love nasty cakes.
Saving for retirement was tough enough.
And navigating markets can be challenging.
Jones, moving on from Mike McCarthy, he has spoken to Deion Sanders about the head coaching position. We've spent a lot of time on that side of the story. How about McCarthy's future? He is expected to interview with other teams this week. Shefty reporting he could interview with the Bears as soon as Wednesday. Remember, they were interested in talking to him, and Jerry didn't allow it last week. One person who had an immediate reaction to that McCarthy news was our Dan Orlovsky, who tweeted, honestly, I would like Mike in Chicago with Caleb. And I can give you a note. In the over 100-year history of the Packers and the Bears, which is the oldest rivalry in NFL history, no one has been the head coach of both franchises. Obviously, McCarthy was once in Green Bay. How would you feel about McCarthy now in Chicago, coaching Caleb Williams and company? Jeff?
I don't love it. I'll say this. I understand what Dan's infatuation would be, is it's all pre-snap, right? Because that's McCarthy's offense. And so he's going to force Caleb to look, process what's going to happen, maybe limit some of the mistakes he made pre-snap of understanding what defenses look like. I'm just not sure it's today's style offense, which Caleb Williams, it's not Cliff Kingsbury walking in with Jaden Daniels, right? Who's basically sculpting an offense to that player. McCarthy's going to come in and run his system. You saw what he did with Dak when he pushed Kellen Moore out. That's going to be the system he runs, and so I'm not sure that's top end for Caleb.
And that system was really successful with Dak Prescott. I'm not sure if Caleb has the if his ability plays well with Mike McCarthy, but I generally just hate the idea of trying to hire a head coach for the quarterback. Like, that's not, you hire a head coach for the team and then build the team in the way that you want.
So do you like it?
No, I don't like it because, to Jeff's point, I'm not sure the reason why you would hire Mike McCarthy is because of his offensive prowess. And I do think that this offense is not an offense that I feel like is in the future of pro football. So, I think it's a great offense for Caleb because it takes a lot of the in-snap thinking away, and it's more like hit your step and let the ball go. But I'm not sure that makes easy answers for Caleb, which I think he needs some easier answers.
And when you talk about Mike McCarthy, you're talking about a play caller / head coach. That's the difference. From my perspective, when Dan's talking about this, it's one thing to bring in an offensive-minded coach who's a head coach who's not. McCarthy wants to be the play caller,
right?
So that's going to touch that QB every day. By the way, he can't be in every meeting every day if you're the head coach. You're going to have somebody, a Josh McCown type, or name there's a number of different QB guys. Mark Brunell, right in Detroit. There's going to have to be a guy who sits down with that QB and walks him through it. When you're the play caller and head coach, I don't love that for a young quarterback.
Louis Riddick, what do you think? Mike McCarthy to Chicago.
Yeah, look, I understand what Dan's getting at, and I think everybody has touched on it. They want to really surround Caleb Williams, or rather puts Caleb Williams in a system that provides more structure for him and takes some of the ad lib and free form of his style of play away. Or not, I don't want to say takes it away, it just kind of harnesses it a little bit. But again, hiring head coaches, for the quarterback. Someone there on the panel said, they don't like when teams do that. This seems like that is exactly what they're looking for. I think Chicago. Look, there's a lot of other things that still need to be fixed there. And look, is Mike McCarthy now, forget his offensive system. Do you believe, though, that he could wind up taking this program overall as far as constructing a staff, making sure that he's in sync with Ryan Poles as far as how this football team looks, not just for the next year, but for the next 3 years? Look, is he the guy who you want? Does he have that kind of vision that marries up with what you want, in addition to him being good for Caleb Williams? I really don't know that because we haven't really talked about Mike McCarthy in that vein as far as being a program builder. So I think this is one of those situations and one of those hirings that really I'd have a lot more questions than just whether or not he would have a positive impact on Caleb Williams. So I'm up in the air about it.
So, Graziano, if you would, you're obviously covering all of this stuff. There are 5 vacancies right now and all the rest of that. There's 6? They didn't close one of them with the Patriots?
Well, they did, but then another one opened with the Cowboys.
Oh, that's okay. Fair enough. Sorry, you're right. Okay. Yes, I overlooked the Cowboys, which would be a first in the history of this show. Of the McCarthy of it all and the everything of it all, where are we as far as the things fans should know?
Well, the Patriots, rushed to their decision as they did last year, and now everybody else will take, I think, what is more of a normal amount of time. I think you have guys interviewing this week that couldn't, by rule, interview last week because their teams were playing. So you'll see the assistants from the Eagles and the Vikings and the Bills and Baltimore do their interviews. So then everybody will get through their first round this week, and then I think there's regrouping this weekend, and I think next week we'll start to see some news on some of these coaching moves. Maybe McCarthy is a candidate in Chicago. That I do think they will talk to him. Not allowed to until after today because of the contract in Dallas, but I think they are looking for somebody who's been a head coach if they can do that, and he is somebody that has, to Lewis's point, operated the organization the way a head coach does, and you're not always sure you're going to get that if you just hire a coordinator who hasn't done it before.
All right, we will see. Again, all these decisions probably start getting made sometime late this week, next week.
Middle of next week, maybe.
We will find out. That we don't know for sure. Here's the one thing I do know for sure. It's time for pancakes.
Let's go.
Pancakes is one of our favorite things.
So let me show you how we're going to get this thing started. We're about to crank this up.
Let's go.
That's how we start this off. Get some of this. It's a thing of beauty. You can't stop us right here. You can't stop us.
Domonique Foxworth just spanked pancakes on Get Up.
Receive it. Can we do one more quick?
I got it. Here we go. Sat him down. Brought to you by IHOP. Domonique Foxworth will get us started as only he can.
Let's get it cranked up. Hey, got a little mix of college and pros. Had some great weekend, great 5 days. Let's start it out with Quinshawn Judkins. Watch this play. Ohio. Hey, that little dude went and found somebody. You gotta love it. Listen, and stepped over him. I want you to watch him finish, and then he steps over him and stands on top. He doesn't understand from an offensive lineman, you lay down on top of and just do like a little spread.
You know what you do.
But that's the way to set the tempo. That was a nasty shot. You got to like it. Sam Cosby coming up right here. I want you to watch the Commanders. Why are they leading on? Look at him run him and dump him to the sideline. My favorite little skip pull, catches him. He's got his boy on the edge. He had beat McCorn. Hey, I'm going to help you out. Gets that left arm in, drives him down, and then dumps him on the edge, on the high. You got to love that. Hey, you want to know why the Commanders are moving on? Jaden Daniels, that offensive line's doing a pretty good job, too. And then we're going to finish up in Buffalo. Again, why are teams still in the playoffs? Got an offensive line. No! How about this right here? This man is a Mack truck walking down. If you're a DB, my concern is, what is he looking at? I mean, did he not see a 6'9", 330-pound man running down full steam to put that head on him? What is going on? That's 3. Spencer Brown, that thing right there. Again, there's not a lot. I need some more. You know, Superman, fella. Let's put that thing on.
Wild card round. He's made savings.
That's probably true. We got another week. Let's make it happen.
But he sees it coming, right?
They changed the rule. We used to be able to cut him. We would cut him. Now you can't cut him. I don't.
But I mean, look at him.
Classic for a reason.
He just stands there. This is what he broke down to. What are you doing? I mean,
yeah, you got to move. You got to give a juke. Something.
Give me something. Like, that's like a bullseye. That was just.
I should be able to shake a guy with a neck roll. Just give him a little something.
Give him nothing.
That might be my new favorite one we've done in a while.
He laid him down.
Coming up, it was a Monday night mauling. A Minnesota misadventure. The final 8 is set. Are the Rams ready to play spoiler? We'll answer that question. And then, of course, the D in Big D stands for Dion. Is Jerry ready to turn the Cowboys into prime-time players? There's reason to believe the answer is yes.
Here we go.
That's next. Get up on ESPN.
One, two. Saw them quick hands. Dan, the last throw. Come on.
The playoffs. This is where the know-it-all thrives. What he lacks in time spent on Earth, he makes up for in time spent watching football.
These days, offense wins championships.
Actually, of the last 23 Super Bowl winners,